In this video I'm going to do a creditors reconciliation activity. This question was taken from a past paper, so you will see some of the answers are quite detailed. What I'm referring to here is the 3 points for good internal control over creditors. So if you look here, there's a large number of answers that would be accepted here. The first thing you can look at is you must ensure that creditors are paid on time. The reason why you want to do that is if discounts are available, then you take advantage for those. At the same time, you need to make full use of credit terms. If the creditor gives you 90 days to repay, use that 90 days because that's going to assist in your cash flow, because hopefully debtors will pay you before you have to pay your creditors. Division of duties is always an answer here, so that one person basically serves as a check on another. Then you can do this internal reconciliation, where you take the balance of the creditor's control account and compare it to the total of the creditor's list to ensure that you have complete accuracy on a monthly basis. Or you can mention external reconciliation, where you take the statement of account of an individual creditor and compare that with the creditor's ledger and make sure that the totals or the balances are equal. You can conduct internal audits to minimize the possibility of fraud or error. So for example, you can check your documents, you can look at invoices and credit notes, check they're correctly added up, etc., recorded correctly, okay, and make sure that they are completely accurate when you record them into the journals. The next thing you could also mention is you must ensure that items ordered from the creditor are correctly received. So you need to check up on the quantity that's delivered, make sure it agrees with the order, the condition of the stock that you've ordered, not damaged, etc., and the price that they've charged you is also correct. And then one other thing you can mention here is that all purchases must be correctly authorized by a senior staff member. So you can't have just anybody making purchases, they must be properly authorized. Alright, then in the next question they ask you to complete the table in the answer book to show how the differences must be treated to reconcile the creditor's ledger account balance with the statement. And in the notes thing I said in the exam questions I've often asked you to use a minus sign rather than use brackets. So you have to put a plus or a minus sign depending on if you want to add or subtract. Alright, if you read this top part here, it tells you that Max Traders received a statement of account from their creditor Dusty. In other words, we are Max, so us is Max and them is Dusty. They start off by giving you the balances and then they tell you what the differences are. Okay, so you would start off with those balances. They actually filled those in for you. Right, the first difference here. An invoice received for 11,200 Rand from Dusty Supplies was correctly recorded in the creditor's ledger and incorrectly recorded as 9,100 on the statement. If you read that there, Dusty, they are wrong. They recorded an invoice as 9,100, but in fact we actually owed 11,200, so you need to add the difference, which is 2,100. The second one, Max Traders entered a discount of 875 relating to a payment of 9,000 Rand on the 10th of February. Dusty Supplies did not approve this discount because the payment was received late. So we deducted something that we were not entitled to. So we made the error and we need to add back that discount because we are not entitled to have received that discount. The third one, the statement of account reflected returns valued 1,190. The creditor's ledger showed 690. It was established that Max Traders miscalculated the value of goods returned. So we are Max Traders. We said we returned 690, but in actual fact we returned 1190. So you need to decrease what we owe by the difference, which is 500 Rand. The fourth one, an invoice received for 3,100 from Dusty was incorrectly recorded as a debit note in the creditors ledger. If we recorded that as a debit note, it means we decreased what we owed, but we actually should have increased what we owed. If this is the case here, you're going to have to double the amount. You need to go from negative 3,100 up to 0, up to positive 3,100, which is why you're adding 6,200 there. So if ever a document's treated as the opposite to what it should be, to fix the error, you must double the amount. And then the last one here, the direct transfer of 7,000 Rand by Max Traders is recorded in the CPJ. The statement of account from Dusty Suppliers was dated the 25th of February. In other words, they would not have recorded that transaction because they had already closed their books. So we're going to need to decrease what we owe to them because we've paid back then. And then when you add up the two, you get the same answer. Hopefully, you will find creditors reconciliation easy marks to obtain, because as long as you can identify who we are and who they are, it's pretty easy to see who's made the mistake, and then the only other thing you need to determine is whether you need to add to or subtract from what we owe. The next thing I'm going to be doing is bank reconciliation, and after bank reconciliation I will then move on to debtors, and under debtors I will do internal reconciliation. But for now that's it. Thank you.